She was just an 8-year-old girl, abandoned, overlooked, and living in the shadows of the city. But the moment Lily heard a faint cry coming from a dumpster, everything changed. What she found that day wasn't just a baby. It was the beginning of a story no one saw coming. She had no idea who the child was, or that her decision to save him would unlock a secret that would shake one of the most powerful families in America. Why did a child with nothing risk everything for a stranger? And how did that one moment lead to a family, a future, and the truth she'd been searching for all along? What you're about to hear isn't just a rescue, it's destiny. Listen until the end to find out what happens next, and please subscribe to our channel. Please also let us know which country you're listening from. The winter wind howled through the crumbling back streets of Detroit as the sun struggled to rise behind gray clouds. 8-year-old Lily Grace Monroe tightened her coat around her tiny frame. It was thin, barely holding out the chill. Her boots had holes, her fingers were raw from the cold, but none of that mattered. She had survived 3 years on the streets since her mother walked out, leaving her alone with her baby brother in a broken-down motel room. That night, her brother Jamie had been burning with fever. She'd cradled him, whispered promises, begged the world to give her one miracle. But the next morning, she made the hardest decision of her life. She left him on the doorstep of a fire station, hoping someone would give him a better chance. She never saw him again. Since then, Child Services had tried to catch her, over and over, placing her in foster homes she ran away from. Every time they tried to cage her, she slipped through cracks. Not because she liked the streets, but because something inside her whispered she had another purpose, something bigger. She just didn't know what. Until that morning, in the alley behind an abandoned gas station, she was digging through a trash bin for cans when a sound stopped her in her tracks. It was faint, fragile. A cry, not like a cat or a raccoon. This was different. It was a baby. Lily's heart kicked into overdrive as she dug through the bags. There, under a damp sheet and wrapped in an old towel, was a tiny baby boy, shivering and red-faced, barely able to cry. Without thinking, Lily scooped him up, clutching him close to her chest. "You're okay now," she whispered. "I've got you." She ran, ignoring the wind that cut through her coat. She knew he couldn't last long out here. She had to get him warm. She ducked into the rusted train car she called home. Inside, she built a fire with old newspapers and splintered wood. She wrapped the baby in her scarf, cradling him near the flame. She gave him drops of water from a straw and mashed up a cracker to moisten on her finger. Slowly, he settled. That's when she noticed the silver locket around his neck. Inside was a faded photo and a crest she didn't recognize. What Lily didn't know was that this boy was Jacob Winslow, infant son of Chicago billionaires Thomas and Elizabeth Winslow. He'd been kidnapped 3 nights ago, and the entire country was looking for him. A reward of over $2 million had been posted. But Lily knew none of that. She only knew he was cold and crying, and she couldn't lose another baby. By dawn, Lily made a choice. She bundled Jacob in her coat and set off across icy sidewalks. She walked for miles to reach Green Cross Pharmacy, one of the only places she trusted. Inside, Miss Lucille Johnson, an old retired nurse who sometimes gave Lily food, gasped when she saw the baby in Lily's arms. "Where did you get that baby?" she asked, trembling. Lily didn't speak. She just held him tighter. Lucille called 911. Within minutes, a white ambulance pulled up. A young female doctor, Mia Torres, stepped out. She took one look at the baby and froze. "This is Jacob Winslow," she whispered. "We've been searching for him for days." Lily blinked. The name meant nothing to her. But when the baby was taken from her arms, she felt something rip inside her, like her chest had been carved open. She stood silently as they drove off, Jacob tucked safely into warm blankets. She walked back to her train car alone. That night, she didn't light the fire. She curled up in a ball and cried for the first time in months. Not because she was cold, but because, for one short moment, someone had needed her, and now he was gone. What Lily didn't know was that the pharmacy's security camera had captured everything. That same night, in a glittering skyscraper in downtown Chicago, Thomas Winslow stared at the screen. There she was, a tiny girl, no older than 8, cradling his son like her own. He turned to his team. "She saved my boy. Find her." 3 days later, Lily returned to the train car. It was quiet. Too quiet. The door was cracked open. Light spilled out onto the snow. Her heart leapt. She stepped inside and froze. Jacob was there, alive, warm, sleeping in the arms of a tall woman in a white coat. Beside her stood Dr. Torres. And then Lily saw him, Thomas Winslow, dressed in a dark overcoat, silver cufflinks gleaming under the lantern light. "You must be Lily," he said gently. She nodded, barely breathing. "You didn't know who he was. You didn't care. You just saved him." Lily looked down. "He reminded me of someone," she whispered. "My brother. I couldn't save him. I wasn't gonna lose another." Thomas's eyes softened. He stepped forward. "You won't ever be alone again." He held out his hand, not like a grown-up reaching for a child, but like someone inviting her into a new life. "Come with us. You're not just the girl who found Jacob. I think you were meant to." She walked forward. The woman in white gently handed Jacob into her arms. He was warm, his tiny hands curled against her chest. He stirred, opened his eyes, and blinked up at her. She smiled for the first time in years. They rode together in a sleek black SUV through the snowy roads of Illinois. Jacob slept against her. The car smelled like cinnamon and leather and something she couldn't name. Home. When they reached the Winslow estate in Lake Forest, the gates opened silently. Light glowed from every window. Servants came running, but Thomas raised a hand. Let her walk in on her own. Lily stepped onto the plush carpet. The floors shone like glass. The heat was thick and comforting. A kind woman led her to a room bigger than any place she'd ever been. Tall bookshelves, a four-poster bed, and Jacob's crib tucked right next to hers. "You can stay with him tonight," the woman said softly. Lily nodded and tucked Jacob in. That night, for the first time since she lost Jamie, she slept without fear. Jacob's tiny hand wrapped around her wrist like an anchor, and she didn't wake once. The next morning, she was greeted by sunshine and warm bread. A woman with a kind smile helped her dress. The clothes were soft, so soft she was afraid to touch them. Downstairs, a long table was set with silver and fine china. Thomas rose to greet her, embracing her gently. "Welcome home, Lily." She didn't know what to say. No one had ever hugged her without a reason, without needing something, just because. Elizabeth cradled Jacob in her arms. He giggled when he saw Lily and reached for her. Over breakfast, Thomas looked her in the eyes. "Today, we'll begin the guardianship. You'll go to school, have a tutor, someone to teach you anything you want to know." Lily's eyes dropped. "But I'm no one. I'm just a girl from the street." Thomas's voice was firm. "No, you're the girl who did what the world couldn't. You found my son. You brought him home. That makes you more than someone. That makes you family." Lily's lips trembled. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "Thank you." And for the first time, it wasn't a request. It was a promise. The weeks passed. Winter slowly released its icy grip, and the first signs of spring crept through the trees surrounding the Winslow estate. The grass turned greener, the sun stayed out longer, and for the first time in her life, Lily didn't fear the change of seasons. She embraced it. Each day she woke up in a room filled with light, beside the crib where Jacob now slept peacefully, his breathing steady and sure. She attended school, not because she had to, but because she wanted to learn, to grow, to become someone more. At school, the other children whispered at first. Some stared, some avoided her. But Lily stood tall, her chin high. She had faced nights colder than their words, loneliness sharper than their stares. And slowly, day by day, their whispers faded. Her kindness disarmed them. Her strength inspired them. She made friends, real ones. Jacob grew quickly. His laugh was now a melody in the halls of the house, and he always reached for Lily the moment he saw her. If she left the room, he would look for her. When he heard her voice, his little arms waved until he was in hers again. He didn't just love her. He needed her. She was no longer a girl who watched the world from the outside. She was part of something, a sister, a daughter, a protector. One warm evening, as they all gathered around the dinner table, Lily, Jacob, Thomas, and Elizabeth, laughter filled the air. Elizabeth looked over at Lily with gentle eyes. "You know," she said, placing her hand softly over Lily's, "I don't think you found Jacob by accident. I think it was always meant to happen. You were meant to find him, and maybe he was meant to lead you home." Lily blinked back sudden tears. She had wondered for so long if she would ever matter to anyone again. Now, sitting at this table, surrounded by warmth and love, she understood. She hadn't just saved Jacob. He had saved her, too. He gave her a reason to keep running when she could have stopped, a reason to believe that her pain had a purpose. And together, hand in hand, heart to heart, they found what neither had known they were missing: a home, a purpose, a family. Forever. What do you think of today's story? Please share your honest thoughts and opinions in the comments below. And thank you so much for listening to Storyline Narratives.